GT Channel with Sam Itani, James McKeone, and Taro Koki.
Okay, so you take it away, James, because I
Save
am
the dessert for last, right? The sweet stuff, sweet stuff for last.
I always look forward to your reviews, James.
Well, I always try, Sam. And this one, I'm going to disappoint you with the photos, but on our next episode, I'll try to make things a little better for you. So that's all I can say. So as you can see, I got something rather small from Toyota this last couple of weeks that I got to go hang out in. The Yaris Hatchback, but not obviously when I dropped off and looked at the car. What I didn't realize about this car until further inspection, as in I got inside, it's actually a Mazda 2. So, but the things you learn that I didn't realize. Here I was expecting it was going to be a detuned version of the homologation Yaris GR edition that they've got in Japan, but unfortunately, no, it's a Mazda 2.
We're not going to get that here, yeah.
I know. But the car itself, I was very happy with. Comes in just over 100 horsepower, which is where I think it could really do with a little bit more gumption. I mean, it's 106 horsepower if it's an inline 4. If it had a turbocharged engine, giving it maybe 40 horsepower or more, put some little grippier tires on, it'd be a nice little fun super mini. With it being 106 horsepower as it is, I mean, it's a Mazda car, obviously, so it's got the handling, so it still feels sporty, but it just doesn't really have the gumption that you'd like these days. I mean, it reminds me of a car that I would have had a few years ago, where it was a small car because that's what your mom and dad want to buy for you, and it isn't that big on the horsepower. So, but it is fuel efficient, so you don't have to spend too much at the fuel pump, if that makes sense. But I have to say, I do like the styling of the car. I think it's a fun car, and I didn't really find that I had. It's a subcompact, so it wasn't the biggest car in the back, but it wasn't that uncomfortable. So that's one thing that I found, and obviously the interior is nice, and for just shy of, like, with destination, I think it rolled up to about just over $19,000. I thought it was a good little car, you know what I mean? It was comfortable, it's nice, it looks good. The only thing I felt that was maybe a little bit wrong with it was that just you felt the vibrations and the road noise when you got on the freeway and the highway and you were driving around a little bit faster, if that makes sense. But
well, it is a small little compact, so it's
exactly.
Probably, yeah.
But the racer in me would certainly like to see this with 50 horsepower more. That's where I think it'd really come.
That's some crazy wheels, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it looks more expensive than a sub $20,000 car. You know what I mean? You're getting a lot for your money. So
it's got that Fordish kind of face now, you know, like a European Ford compact face.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but made in Mexico.
Hmm.
Although I think they've just started making them again after the shutdown and everything else under the sun. But like I said, I mean, I got in, I was like, wow, it's a Mazda 3 stroke MX-5 Miata with a Toyota badge on the inside.
Well, you know, the two companies are getting closer and closer, so are sharing a lot of technology. So,
hey, it helps with the build, right?
Yeah.
But as you always ask, Sam, I definitely give this 2 thumbs up. I thought it was a great car for a beginner, someone if you're going to be on your child, something that's good. If you lived in a big city, I think it's a good car, really small, really nimble, great to park, easy to go. Still got, I think, on the highway, I think it was like 40 plus miles a gallon I was getting, and then around town it was in the low 30s. That was being conservative, obviously. And so it was a good car. The only downside, it's got the weird Mazda infotainment system, which you can see here in the middle, which I always feel is you kind of like, you have to sometimes take your eyes down off the road to sort of put your hand to get to it. It'd be a lot easier, honestly, if everything was handled and it had just a touchscreen at the front. That'd make it a lot easier. Obviously, it'd probably make it a little bit more expensive, and it's not what Mazda have. But, I mean, if they've got it in so many vehicles now, you think that it could come through, and it's a pretty inexpensive switch to make in this day and age.
Do they have a manual version of this car?
They do. And the XLE, which I got, only comes in automatic, but they do have a manual version below it. But I think that's the one you want to get if you were wanting to have the horsepower. I think the one's a little bit more sprightly than the automatic. But honestly, tootling around Los Angeles at the time for the past week or so, it was just nice to have this. Just nice, easy to get around, comfortable. You know what I mean?
Well, what did you say the price was?
Just shy of 20,000. I think it was 19,800 and some plus change, and that had a few.
Wow, very
a few features, a few extra features, and a few mats and lights and things like that, and plus a destination charge. I think if you wanted to, you can get the lower version. I think starts at 17 and then cops out with the destination just at 18,000. It doesn't have too many options, obviously, on the price point, and it certainly lacks a few of the safety features, for example, of the Kias we talked about last week, which were a little bit more money and a little bit bigger. But if you wanted to go for something you felt was reliable and came with the Toyota badge, when this is the one for you, it's a good car. I give it, as always, 2 thumbs up. See, a place to be. And obviously, I'm a fan of small hatchbacks, I should say. The sprightly always reminds me of being a youth and
well, you're a Euro.
Yeah, exactly. If I felt I wanted to get myself into some trouble, I'm sure I could find a car park and some McDonald's trays I could put underneath the back wheels and just skid around all night until the police tell me off.
Yeah. Boy, those rear tires sure are thin.
Yeah.
What are they, like 185s?
Yeah, I think they're 185s in the, all round, like 17s, which is funny enough.
Yeah, the 17-inch wheels kind of give it a little class. You know what I'm saying? Gives it a little
but I do think it's funny because obviously when I started driving, I remember my first small hatch had 13-inch wheels, and it was like a huge upgrade when I went to 14s. And now this everything comes a 17 is like a tiny wheel now, and everything's coming with 19 inches and 20s. I mean, I think even the Camry comes standard with like 19-inch wheels or 20-inch wheels now on some models.
Yeah.
It's a funny place to be. But but that's my thoughts on the Toyota. I do like it. And I thought it was great. Like I say, can't complain at all.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Now, but I guess
great review.
I guess we can talk, Sam, about you jumping into those scoops, because that's all what everyone's tuning in for to hear.
Actually, you know what, James? I wanted to ask you, I mean, since you're a racing guy, if you've been kind of keeping touch with these these sim racing thing, about that driver who got caught.
You want to talk about Daniel Abt?
Is that him? Yeah, that's him.
So, I mean, there's certainly unique ways to take on it. I mean, Daniel Abt is a professional racing driver. His father is part of the ABT group, and that is linked with Audi. Has supported Audi on the racing front for many, many years now. Daniel is a driver, been in Formula E from the start, is a race winner in Formula E, has been close in championship contention for a number of seasons.
He's a good driver, very fast.
Yep, he is. But however, he's not a very good driver on the eSports. So for the first, I think it was like race 6, I think this is coming into it where the issue happened, but in the first 5 races, he'd been qualifying very lowly in the positions, like in the 20s. Hadn't got further than that, had not been the best, I will say, on the racetrack. But he has a very good social media following. So he joked prior to this that wouldn't it be funny if I had a professional racer step in for me? Wouldn't that be great? And maybe give these guys a run for this money. So lo and behold, that happened. However, Daniel forgot to tell anyone about this, that he was going to go ahead with this. So he hired a professional esports racer to drive for him. They hid. So the esports racer actually competes in the lower Formula E competition that's strictly for esports racers. Okay. But they concealed the camera so the driver couldn't be seen properly. And Daniel didn't take part in the post-race press conferences. During the race, some of the other drivers suggested that it was not Daniel because he didn't have a hot mic and wasn't able to talk to them. And so they wanted to know if it was Daniel driving, and some clearly thought it was not. Obviously, it came out post-event that it was not Daniel driving. It was another gentleman who was racing in his spot, a professional esports racer. Now,
how did he get caught, though?
Well, they won. He admitted it after the race.
Oh, he won the race?
No, he came second in the race. Okay. So
there's one clue right there.
To second.
How does he get so good overnight?
So fast, right? Yeah. So there was that. They also checked the IP logs. The IP logs were different. He didn't take part in any of the post race, so there was all this. Now, there was different ways to look at this. Obviously, I thought Audi decided he was first, sat on the sidelines, and then they severed the partnership now. I fully agree with that. I think that in the idea that people aren't taking this. I think that it's a professional race. If it's a professional race, give it, take it. You're not going to get someone else and put them in there and have them drive for you.
Yeah.
So it's a professional sport.
It's not a Stig.
it's an event sponsoring by UNICEF. So the whole sport is to garner money and interest for UNICEF. You've got your main sponsor, obviously, of the race, Formula E. It's for charity, which is UNICEF. You're an Audi driver representing your family team of ABT. So all these come to it, and the idea that you're like, oh, we'll just get a ringer and it'll be funny and we can laugh about it.
Well, when you put it that way, James.
I mean, there was no, I fully supported the idea that it was like, it was a joke, ha, I was just doing it for laughs, just doesn't sit well. I think it was incredibly bad taste. They've got drivers out there working with their engineers doing 6 to 8 hours a day with a group of 5 to 6 people working on these sim races, doing it every day ahead of these races, putting on a sport where thousands upon thousands of people look up to these drivers, watch these drivers, and see them watch these events. It's an opportunity to showcase this in a serious time when we've obviously got a global pandemic, and this is before everything else came into the match. I think it's ridiculous that anyone could put themselves ahead of this and think how obnoxious it is to go and do this themselves. I think that anyone that stands by it seems to a very juvenile approach to something that's actually is a motorsport that people are doing for a living, and belittles those people that take it so seriously. So I think that
McKeone putting the hammer down.
Look, I don't like the cheating in sports. I'm glad that he was able to
Well,
find
that's
him.
cheating, though. You know, esports is sports. So I mean, if you cheat, you get caught, and you're out, man.
Exactly. I
agree
mean, I
with
understand
you,
that it can be a funny moment, haha, when you're a driver and you're racing and your daughter accidentally turns the TV off and you lose the race and you can't get out.
Yeah.
Or, for example, someone
That's not
trips over.
ha-ha.
Someone-
He was upset.
Someone trips over and pulls out the cable that goes into the router, which has also happened, which is not, I can understand that life happens and obviously dogs barking in the background and everything else.
It's
But
also an accident too, though, right?
yes, but
there's
the
nothing
idea that
do
you
with it.
actively wanted to
Yeah.
cheat the system
Yeah.
in a race that's it's fundamentally being run for charity is ridiculous.
It's
So,
that's all.
There you go,
Yeah.
Sam. Hopefully that was good enough for you.
That was good.
Mhm.
I would. You could have put up a picture of him or something.
Well, sorry, Sam, I was there, but I didn't. Look, I don't want to glorify him. I don't want to let
oh,
anyone
you're
know
not
who is.
glorifying him. You're not.
Oh, yeah, I would be, but if I'm going to pull him up, I'm going to show off where you could follow him and things. So I don't want to talk about that.
All right, we don't have to. We don't have to.
I guess let's share the screen and we can go with Formula E. Here we go, and now just if you give me a minute here,
I can't believe I had to remind you of that story. You totally forgot about it, but it was 2 weeks ago, right?
Well, I was going
Week and a
to
half.
a week and a half ago. I was going to actually talk about it at the end when we came to it, but
Oh, sorry about that.
no, don't worry about it, Sam. These things happen, so I'm glad we just got to a little bit sooner.
Mistakes happen, Sam.
It's not a mistake. You know what I should have did, Taro, is because I was late, I should have had a ringer come in at 2 o'clock for me.
You
And
should have had
sit
someone
here.
sit for you
Exactly.
right there and just like move. You should have had
just say
Mike Jim
nothing.
sit
Yeah.
there.
So there, just one moment, folks, as I get back to this sharing my screen again, as I just made everything, the magic happen. So hopefully this works. So there you go. So obviously
All you
there
kids
is,
out there, don't cheat.
yep,
Don't
you
cheat
should
get
not
caught.
in
cheat.
sports.
And
Even though
then,
people say if you're not cheating, you're not trying, that's wrong.
so there you go.
Okay.
Who said
Yeah.
if you're not cheating, you're not trying? Bill Belichick?
I'm sure he's one of them. I'm sure he's one of them.
But there we go. All right, Sam. So I guess
Okay.
it's back to you in regards to
Cool.
the scoop.
All right, Sam, what you got for us?